Welcome to today's webinar, Scam Jam and Medicare Fraud Patrol, presented by Stephanie Bias from the North Carolina Department of Insurance. I am your host, Daryl Davis-Fulmer, and today we'll also be joined by Tim O'Connell, NCRGEA's Executive Director, who will share the update from the association. I also want to thank Tracy Eubanks for her technical support today. Our primary presenter, Stephanie Bias, who is the North Carolina Senior Medicare Patrol Program Coordinator for the Seniors Health Insurance Information Program, SHIP, as you have heard before at the North Carolina Department of Insurance. SHIP's mission is to provide neutral, objective, and unbiased counseling to North Carolina's 2.3 million Medicare beneficiaries on all things Medicare. NCSMP empowers Medicare beneficiaries to recognize and prevent Medicare fraud, waste, and abuse through outreach, education, and media efforts. Stephanie is a Salisbury native, and in 1973, Raleigh became home. And she holds an associate's degree from Peace College, a Bachelor of Science degree from Campbell College, and a master's in education from North Carolina State University. Stephanie has 39 years of professional service to the state of North Carolina, and in 1998, she became SHIP Regional Manager and the North Carolina SMP Program Coordinator in 2006. She serves as co-chair of the North Carolina Senior Consumer Fraud Task Force, SAFE Task Force, and serves as the North Carolina Partnership to Address Adult Abuse Awareness Committee co-chairs. You can see she's extremely qualified for this presentation today. And today, she will talk to you about how to protect yourself from the rapidly growing fraud schemes and scams that are targeted at our older citizens and their Medicare benefits. Before we begin this webinar, I want to go over just a few items. Each of you has been muted to help ensure the presenter can be heard. We will send a link out following this presentation for you to also submit to survey questions. So we want you to do that and to do that by Monday. For those of you who sent questions, we submitted them to Stephanie earlier, and some may be answered during this presentation. If you think of a question during the presentation, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom page. We will read them at the end so that she can respond. If we have time, this is an important presentation. We want her to have as much time as possible. So without further ado, here is our Executive Director, Tim O'Connell. Tim, take it away.
All right. Thank you so much, Daryl. It's great to be with you all today. I hope you're all enjoying this cooler weather here in North Carolina. It's quite refreshing is a good way of saying it, but it's great. I hope you're off to a good start to 2020-25. I've got some news to share with you, a couple things, and this is also going to be in our next Living Power. It's at the printer right now, so you should be getting it within the next, I'd say, week and a half to 2 weeks. So as I'm sharing some items here, if you go, I wish I had more detail is going to be coming to you very shortly. So I'm going to begin by talking about on the advocacy front, what's going on there. So right now, it's an important time for us, the January meeting for elders. So if you're a local government, decisions around COLA and such are made at that January meeting. We've been in conversations with the new treasurer, Treasurer Briner, as well as other organizations that work in the local government space about this. We're looking forward to some change, and we are seeking ways that we can provide you COLAs or additional pension supplements as soon as possible. So there's a lot in the works right now, but January is an important meeting for you as a local government, the January trustee meeting, and we will be there as well with some of my board members. So I'm excited about that meeting, and I look forward to working with Treasurer Briner in the coming years on elders in particular. The next area on, if you are a state employee, you probably know this, but a budget was not approved last year by the legislature. So that came down to just the House and Senate having some differences that they could not come to terms on. And as the year wrapped up, there was still not a biennium budget put in place. The long session is beginning. That's when a new biennium budget is put together. So we are already working and preparing for that and working towards making sure our legislative agenda on behalf of state employees is handled there. So those two things are going on right now on the advocacy front. So it's a busy time for us, even with the legislature not in session at the moment. It's still very busy, especially getting ready for the trustees meeting for local government retirees. Couple other pieces. You've heard some news, and I met with the new executive director of the state health plan. There may be some changes coming with that, but we are in conversations on that as well. And we are making sure that your concerns and position is heard. So I'm grateful to the treasurer and his senior staff for just having such an open door to conversation around some important items going on in that area. Next thing that I want to share with you, if you haven't noticed, we look a little bit different, and it's not my beard, it's a new logo. And that was done, if you're not familiar, our letters, when we are RGEA, that was the most difficult thing for just about everybody to remember. Quite honestly, your director at times, I practiced that for a number of weeks leading up to my taking this role to make sure I got it right. But also when I'm down at the legislature and other places, folks had trouble keeping our letters straight. So we're shortening our name to the name people have always called us. They've called us RGEA. That's what we're going with. So good news for you. Yeah, there's 2 less letters you have to remember when you're referring to us going forward. So we are RGEA, and we're the Retired Government Employees Association. So just look more to come on that. That will also be shared in Living Power. But just wanted you to know, if you see a little different look to us, we're still the same organization, just a little tune up and a few less letters to remember. So more to come on that, but I just want to share you're getting the first look at it, so you can begin to spread the word. We got a new look. I'm looking forward to this session, and I always do. I've gotten to know Stephanie through the years, and I'm sure we also go to church together, so I see her at church as well. But Stephanie always is our closer at our events because she brings such an energy to this. And I always give the example of my mom, who I admire immensely, the greatest bookkeeper, and she worked in insurance, filed insurance. She, somebody tried to pull something on her with some Medicare fraud. She caught it within 2 days. And she was on it, but it can happen to anybody. So this is good information to be alert and be aware of. And you sort of feel empowered when you know how to handle this. And I really appreciate Stephanie bringing this program forward. So without further ado, back to you, Daryl. Back to you, Stephanie.
Yes. Thank you, Tim. And I didn't want to spoil your thunder, so I just kept saying NCRGEA. But this is great. Yeah, this is great. So we're excited about the name change and the new look and all of that. And Stephanie, we're really excited about you today. And so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and just toss it over to you so that you can get started and share this important information with our members. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you folks. Being with RGEA is one of the most exciting things that we do, because you know what? I feel like you're with home folks, because guess what? The audience that we're talking to, that's us. I mean, I'm a state employee. I work for the North Carolina Department of Insurance. If you heard my bio, I have more than enough years that I could say sayonara, but I'm going to stick around for a little bit, I think. And just want to make sure that you understand that we are here to try to help you, and without a sales slant. We're not going to send you to an agent or something of that nature. I just have to open. I love to open with this little tidbit. There was a gentleman in 1965 when Medicare came into existence as your health insurance. And he was a shade tree mechanic by his retirement job. He tinkered with lawnmowers. And he sent his granddaughter to the mailbox. She brought out a card, and it was a Medicare card. And he says, I don't need that. I'm retired from the railroad. I don't need that. So he said, I'm gonna go inside and call my congressman's office. His congressman was Congressman Broyhill from the western part of North Carolina. And he said, who's in charge of this Medicare program? And the aide said, well, the United States Congress is. And he says, well, if Congress is in charge, that is really nice. He said, but I'm gonna send you my card back so you can give it to somebody else. And he said, well, sir, you can't do that. And he said, if Congress is in charge, they will have to create a government agency to oversee it. And they did. And at that time, it was called the Healthcare Financing Administration. And now it's called Administration for Community Living and CMS, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. And he said, and you mark my words, they will have to create another government agency to explain it to people because nobody will ever understand this. And they did, and those were called the Seniors Health Insurance Assistance Programs, of which in North Carolina, we are a part of the SHIP, and we're the S&P program. Now, that man didn't have a lot of years of formal education, but he was wise beyond those years. I know that because that man was my grandfather, and I was his granddaughter that picked up his Medicare card that day. He passed away in 1973, but I feel like I honor his memory as well as the memory of so many people that I know and love that have been on Medicare all these years, that we try to explain this to people in simple English, because everybody has a question at some point in time about their health insurance. I don't care what you did for a living. You just need to know that you have a question. You need to make sure, because all the years that you worked, you paid for this system. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay. How many folks have gotten this Medicare and You book? Well, you can't see it on the screen. I forget. You can't see it on the screen. Medicare and You 2025. It is your guidebook and your handbook to your Medicare. And we want you to, if you don't have trouble sleeping, you have trouble sleeping at night, you can always read this, but it tells you everything you wanted to know about Medicare for 2025, but we're afraid to ask. Go through it. It talks about your preventative benefits. It talks about your premiums. It talks about what Medicare covers. It talks about how we fill in the gaps for where Medicare doesn't cover at 100% for Medicare covered services. We want you to read that and go through that manual. Talk about your preventative services. We're in a new year. Everybody's pledging to get healthier during the new year. So we want you to read that book and check it for accuracy and check your benefits for accuracy. Here we go. Read that Medicare and You 2025. We know that because our department at the Department of Insurance in North Carolina, we help to help review that before it goes to print. So we're kind of have a little bit of a stake, and we're very proud of this document. Okay, let's go to the next slide. How many folks, the Senior Medicare Patrol Program, they say, do you carry a gun? No, Lord knows you do not want me carrying a gun. The Senior Medicare Patrol Program in North Carolina has been housed at the Department of Insurance in the SHIP division since September of 2003. The S&P program, or as the Senior Medicare Patrol Program is known, we receive federal grant funds from the Administration for Community Living, or ACL. There is a SHIP and an S&P program in all 50 states and the 4 territories all across the country. But we're not all co-located like we are in North Carolina. SHIPs and S&Ps in North Carolina, SHIP and S&P in North Carolina, you're co-located within the same agency at the Department of Insurance, which is a win-win. The goal of the Senior Medicare Patrol Program, as Daryl had shared with you earlier, is to empower seniors to prevent healthcare fraud, waste, and abuse through education, outreach, and media efforts. We have coordinating sites in all of North Carolina's 100 counties and close to 1,000 volunteers that are cross-trained and considered to be NCSMP volunteers. Our services are free, confidential, and there is no cost to the consumer, and we are a judgment-free zone. I want you to understand, don't ever be embarrassed to ask us a question. We may ask you a question back and say, tell me about this, so we will know how to effectively answer the question that you need. But I want you to think for yourself. Go to the next slide. How many folks have $68 billion a year to lose? I don't have 68 cents to lose. much less $68 billion to lose. $68 billion of your dollars, because remember, when you paid your FICA taxes all those years, that were broken down into OASDI and HI. The HI is the part that funds the Medicare Trust Fund. So this is your investment, just like any other kind of investment that you work toward your retirement. Your health insurance is critically important. $68 billion was lost last year, and that was just what was reported to Medicare fraud. And that is according to the Administration for Community Living, or ACL. So that's a lot of money a day, if you look at that. The Journal of American Medicine finds that the annual cost of waste from that fraud and abuse alone is estimated between 58 and 83 billion. So 68 probably is kind of the middle of the road. As I said, our role is to educate you so you make the best informed choice for your situation, and you prevent healthcare fraud through education, outreach, and counseling. Now, not everybody can be on this call today. So I want you to take one thing that you have learned and share that with someone that was not eligible to come because they were not a state or a government or local government retiree. Share that information, because through these efforts, Medicare beneficiaries become a good steward of those benefits that you worked all your life for. Let's go to the next slide. We have an S&P program brochure, and this is a copy of this. We have a toll-free consumer line, and we're going to talk about the toll-free consumer line throughout this presentation. Our toll-free consumer line with the Department of Insurance with a SHIP division is 1-855-408-1212. We're open Monday through Friday from 8 until 5, excluding state holidays. Tim and I have joked back and forth that when I die and I'm in the columbarium at our church, our Church of Good Shepherd Episcopal Church in downtown Raleigh, that he could be my docent, and I'm going to have that put on my little tombstone. That, how do you call us? If you got questions about Medicare, give us a call. I would rather you call us so we can help you figure out what the answer is than to sit there and be frustrated. So just know, everybody has questions about Medicare. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, Medicare fraud. How do you recognize it? Well, and what is it? When someone knowingly deceives, conceals, or misrepresents to obtain money or property from any healthcare benefit program, that is considered Medicare fraud. Providers, suppliers, insurance brokers, pharmacists, companies, even Medicare beneficiaries can commit fraud. It happens every single solitary day. So we want you to be a good steward of your benefit. We want you to be a good steward of your benefit. We're going to go to the next slide, please. Your provider. Well, you put a lot of stock in your provider, and you trust that provider. But how many folks open their Medicare statements as they come once a quarter? Or you can go on Medicare.gov and establish an account to track your claims online, which is more real time. Then we want you to make sure that you have made sure that everything that has been billed against your account were the services that you did receive. Because why? You open your bank account statement, you open your credit card statement. I'm in Raleigh, right down the road from Crabtree. You're not going to pay for somebody that's gone to Crabtree and bought up, $500-600 worth of tennis shoes at Belk's when you haven't been to Crabtree since last year on Black Friday. Same way when it comes to your Medicare benefits. When you call the doctor's office and you ask for an appointment, make sure that you've written down everything that you want to talk to the doctor about, so the person making the appointment can allocate what? Enough time for you to have those questions answered. And I have something that I love, and we're going to talk about this. It's called a healthcare journal. We're going to talk about this. That's pretty important. It's like a checkbook register. Write down your aches and pains. Keep it up to date so that when you receive your statement that comes, if you don't want to choose to follow it online, but it comes once a quarter, then you will know what's been charged against your account. The ways that some of these services can actually be scammed is they were billing for surgery when really it was just something that was real small, like a Band-Aid placed over a cut. or they're billing for a more expensive service than actually was provided, or unbundling services, providing and submitting for lab services that combine 3 or 4 tests intended to be billed as one service. Medicare pays the provider more for each service than if the service was billed as a group, and that would be called bundling. Or billing for non-covered services as they are covered services, such as billing for a routine toenail clipping, which is a non-covered service, and they may say it's a foot surgery, which is a covered service. Does that seem right to you? That doesn't seem fair, correct? Go to the next slide. How many folks have ever received telephone calls, flyers in the mail, emails, or knocks on the door saying, we want to give you a wheelchair, Medicare's going to pay for it, or diabetic supplies, or you see them on the side of the road. I saw one actually today when I came off the Beltline. We buy the diabetic supplies from you. Incontinence supplies without a doctor's prescription. Or they bill for home medical equipment after it's already been returned. One of the best examples I give, and as I go out and talk with our seniors all across the state of North Carolina, they will give you these stories. I share their stories with you. I had a lady in Swansboro that won like speed walking in senior games. And they called and they said they were going to send her a walker or a wheelchair. She said, I don't need it. I walked 5 blocks up here to have lunch today. And she said, I'm going to walk the 5 blocks back. But give that to somebody who needs it. And don't you have to have a doctor's note to get one of those and get Medicare to pay for it? They said, well, we can give it to somebody here that we know. And she said, well, who is this person? And they named somebody in Newport, which is across the river from Swansboro. And she said, that person's not a doctor. I know every doctor in in Newport. It is not that. You are a fraud. And she hung up the phone. Or if they call you on the phone and said, I want to talk to you about these supplies that you're eligible to receive, and they'll say, are you Mary Smith? Why, yes, I'm Mary Smith. They've recorded your voice and saying, yes, that is your name. What can they do with that? Just let your mind wander. What can they do with that information? They say, oh, well, we recorded her. She said she wanted it. Or if you have, and this is certainly nothing against agents and brokers because they do a wonderful job. But if they enroll you into a Medicare plan and you didn't know that they were going to do that for you and they hadn't discussed this for you, that it would be good for your deal, you know, that's not good. That's fraud. Sorry. I work at the Department of Insurance. We have an agent services division that if these people have done this without your consent, you can turn them into us. Insurance companies that don't follow the Medicare marketing rules, like sending out advertisements with Medicare's logo on it. Well, they really are not Medicare. They are an entity that does what? That sells a product. Or beneficiaries letting someone else use their benefit card or their Medicare card. How many folks know where their Medicare card is today? How many folks keep their Medicare card in a card holder? We have a card holder. I was standing behind a lady at CVS at Lake Boone Trail in Raleigh, and she had her Medicare card because she was getting some prescriptions at the pharmacy, and she was fanning with it. I guess she was having a personal summer moment, and she just said, I'm fanning with this. And I thought, I'm standing behind you with my cell phone, and when you stop, I could take a picture of your card and do what? Use it, sell it, because your Medicare card, which no longer has your Social Security number on there, but it no longer has your doesn't have your picture on there, and it doesn't have your signature line on in there anymore. So don't be incensed if a provider asks you to see maybe some form of identification to go along with that, because see, someone could have stolen your information and done what? Using it, especially if they don't have insurance. Okay. Or people will say, they will call you and they will say, if you'll take part in our survey and give us your Medicare number, or we'll bill Medicare for these services, and you won't have to worry about making sure that you're going to get paid for that, or that Medicare is going to pay your insurance for that. We want to make sure that you get everything done. Then guess what? But in thanks for that, we're going to send you a gift card to Happy Days store. So you can go and get yourself something. No. Do not listen to that. Please do not give them that information. Okay, let's go to the next one. Once again, and Tracy, in the middle of our screen, it's got a reboot thing that's going over our presentation, and I want to make sure that people don't get that. So just go reboot now, put no. I want to make sure that folks don't get that. Do you see that white screen?
I don't
that's
see
just on
that
this
on mine.
computer.
That might be on yours.
It might be on this computer. Okay, Tim's in here. He's going to try to fit. Thanks, guys. Bear with us as we go through the technology of life today. But we want to make sure that you take that information and that you keep that, just protect your Medicare card just like you would a credit card. And just like you would anything like that. You want to make sure that you keep that safe. We're going to drag it out of the way. Okay, that'll be good. We're going to drag it out of the way. Thank you for being patient with us, folks. Okay, there we go. Never provide your Medicare number to anyone who contacts you through unsolicited calls, texts, or emails. Even if they have a phone call to you and it says that they are calling from Medicare. Medicare's not calling you on the telephone. Believe you me, they are not. When I turned 65 a few years ago, it was during COVID. And so everybody in America was calling my phone number. And they were saying, oh, we're from Medicare and we're doing this. And we know what your number is. Just verify it with us. No. Not verifying anything with anybody over the telephone. And I'm real cautious about who I verify it with. And watch that card when you even hand it to your provider. I'd watch my card. I would watch my insurance information, because that really is like giving them your checkbook or giving them your credit card. Keep your Medicare card in some type of a card holder. And I want to suggest to you that you keep that turned face down with the numbers facing the solid side, so that someone standing behind you, as I had at the CVS pharmacy, can't be standing behind you with your trusty what? Cell phone, and doing what? Taking a photograph of your information. Okay? Next slide. Okay. Please, I know that insurance is confusing, and I agree all day long. But how are you going to stop Medicare fraud? Well, you know what? We say we can't stop bad things that happen in the world, but you know what? We can do our part, and we can share our information with other people with saying, you know, I learned on this call that these are the things that you need to do. So many seniors over the years have, and it's been over 26 years since I've worked for SHIP, that have been working for SHIP. They would come into our offices all across the state of North Carolina, bringing their grocery store bags or the little Food Line bags or Walmart bags or Target bags full of Medicare summary notices that had never even been opened, much less read or checked for accuracy. Please open your mail, read your Medicare summary notice. If you have questions, please call. If you see something, keep that healthcare journal. I don't remember going to Dr. Smith. Who is Dr. Smith? Well, you know what? If you had a lab test run, the doctor may have consulted with Dr. Smith. Dr. Jones may have consulted with Dr. Smith about your particular condition, and they can file Medicare for that. Ask questions if you're not sure of something. Always on your Medicare summary notices are the steps to file an appeal. You can always call us at our Senior Medicare Patrol program at SHIP at 1-855-408-1212, Monday through Friday from 8 until 5, excluding state holidays, or to one of our local coordinating sites in all of North Carolina's 100 counties. And if you call our toll-free consumer line, we're housed in Raleigh, but that toll-free consumer line goes all across the United States, because you know what? Your children may not live in North Carolina anymore, or you may have moved out of state in your retirement. Guess what? They can still call our toll-free consumer line and ask questions. I would rather you ask the same question over and over again to make sure that you're clear of what that answer is than for you to become a victim of fraud or to not stop fraud in its tracks. Okay? Remember, you can call our office and ask for a healthcare journal and we will mail one to you. But I want you to use this journal. It's like keeping a checkbook register, people. It's great. It's wonderful. Okay, next slide. So what are some of the scams? Well, I mean, here's just a little quick overview of what scams are going on. But this is certainly not all of them because they pop up every day. Medicare is not going to go to your door and knock on your door. If someone says they are from Medicare and they have faked up a badge and says they're from Medicare, then guess what? They're not from Medicare. Medicare's not going to your door. Or if they say to you when you open the door and you haven't invited anyone to your home to talk about anything about this, then guess what? And they say, well, you know, I got to prove to my boss that I've been to see 52 people today in Raleigh. Could you sign here? Say, no, I cannot sign. Don't show them your card and tell them that you will not sign because you don't know what they have done with your card number or your signature. Please be vigilant about that. One of our big scams that we've had, and we had someone who was actually an operating room nurse that had over $280,000 worth of catheter supplies, continence supplies, catheters, charged to her Medicare account fraudulently. She didn't need them. She didn't want them. She didn't have to have them. But they had done it. But she wouldn't have known that unless, guess what? She did not read her Medicare statement. And people say, well, I don't want to make the doctor mad or I don't want to make my insurance company mad. Well, guess what? If something has been charged against your account that you didn't receive and you did not bring notice to this or call to this or ask about this, then guess what? Maybe down the road sometime you may need that and you can't get it because Medicare may have already paid for that, especially when it comes to durable medical equipment. Telemarketing, as I said, they call you on the telephone. And it shows up on caller ID, Medicare information now. Do not give them that information on the phone. Or we want to give you this or we want to give you that. You better know who you were talking to and please do not give them your Medicare information. I have a lovely lady that goes to church with me that she says, why do they do this? Why do they call all day long and try to confuse us? And I said, well, because it's allowed. What I'm going to tell you is don't give them that information. Hang up the phone. I know we were raised in the South. We're not raised to be rude, but hang up that phone. You are not Mary Smith. And if you want to give them a bogus name, give them a bogus name. I don't care. We want to make sure that you have protected yourself, your healthcare identity from fraud. We also know that there are folks that want to give you a plastic Medicare card. This is a scam. Now, wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have that paper Medicare card? But it's paper for a reason because it's got fibers in it that can tell whether it's real or not. And they want to give him a plastic Medicare card, kind of like a credit card or a debit card. And some of them really want to give you the ones with the old raised numbers. You know how the numbers were raised and not just printed on the card? Oh, that would be great. That is a scam. Please do not fall for it. Okay, go to the next slide. You see advertisements. I see them every day. I say things that sometimes that wouldn't make my mother proud. I throw things at the screen when I see things on television because we know that this is designed to second guess yourself onto what you feel like you are not getting and you need to be taken advantage of. Now, if you look on this screen, this particular shot, we see a couple of folks that we may recognize their face. They may have been in the broadcast industry and the news industry, or they may have been on a football field throwing a football. And they are folks that are paid endorsers. They are paid to give these advertisements. Get the benefits you deserve. Well, if you need these benefits, where did I say you can find out about these benefits? In your Medicare New 2025. You can call our toll-free consumer line at the Department of Insurance. You can go to your coordinating site. they feel that you're not getting everything you need to know, or you're going to get a grocery benefit. You may get a small grocery benefit if you have a particular plan, but you need to make sure that when you look at it, you don't buy a plan based on a grocery benefit or a home delivered meal. You buy it because your doctors accept that plan as your insurance and will do so going forward for the year. You've given that over to another company to manage. You want to make sure that you understand that. Get the benefits you deserve. Next slide. We also work, as you heard in my advertisement, with my bio, not advertisement, it was a bio of advertisement of who I am. North Carolina Partnership to Address Adult Abuse. Do you think healthcare fraud is abuse, especially among the elderly? Of course it is. If somebody has defrauded an older person and collectively Medicare beneficiaries from across North Carolina, the 50 states, the 4 territories, and even for our Medicare beneficiaries that have retired to other countries, if they have frauded that with $68 billion, that is elder abuse. That is a form of elder abuse. Because I always tell people, if you have home health, I'm not saying that these people are doing anything wrong, but make sure that you keep your Medicare card in a secure place, not just lying around on the table. The North Carolina Partnership to Address Adult Abuse's vision is to eliminate abuse, neglect, and exploitation of older adults and adults with disabilities, and that could be through Medicare fraud. We want to make sure that you are living in a safer community and that you know how to prevent Medicare fraud, detect errors on your statements by reading them and checking them for accuracy, and reporting it, so that we can make sure that these people that are providing this fraudulent activity to you or trying to make you come over to their side, that those folks are investigated and prosecuted of abuse, neglect, and exploitation. We do that by awareness, education, and advocacy. Next slide. All right. We're not too terribly far from the end, but do we have any questions in our question box that folks have? Who's staffing that for me today?
I am Stephanie. I think one thing perhaps to clear up, I saw a couple of questions about I received the quarterly reports from Humana, but I don't receive the quarterly reports from Medicare. I'm
Okay.
assuming that it's one, yeah, but
What they're
could you
talking
explain
about.
that?
Yeah, what I
Yes.
want to, okay, and that's great because we have a lot of state retirees that may be on the Humana Medicare Advantage plan. Your Medicare summary notice is going to come from Humana because it has taken over the management of your health care benefit. If you're on original Medicare, that's when you're going to get a Medicare summary notice. But the same information is correlated if you're under a Medicare Advantage plan, whether it be through Humana or if you have one that is community-based. And that is an excellent questions to ask. Excellent question.
Yeah. I thought it was a good one too. And that would be
Absolutely.
the same if it's Blue Cross or whatever
Yes.
Advantage plan
Yes.
that any of the local government or state
Check
employees, whoever
them
has
for
what.
accuracy. And I'm going to tell you another little tale. That is not a tale, it's the truth. We had a lady that you can see what people are, we can always tell what people are watching on the television by their phone calls that we receive in our toll-free consumer line of the Department of Insurance, which are staff of the Department of Insurance, state employees, just like yourself at one point in time. And they said that, you know, her daughter said she signed up for 5 Medicare Advantage plans in one day. And I said, well, that doesn't fly. She can't do that. And she said, but ma'am, I don't think she needs it at all because my dad was retired military and he had TRICARE for life and mom piggybacks that. And he was retired civil service. Plus she was also a retired school teacher. So she had a lot of good options for her insurance, but that person calling her on the phone said, oh, we think we can get you some other benefits that you would need. And basically she was giving up the things that she had worked for all her life for over something that really was not a true good benefit for her. Anything else, Daryl?
Yes, try to get myself off mute. A few people have asked if we were sharing the materials, and the answer is yes, we can share. I just got
Yes, we can
words,
share the
Stephanie.
material.
Okay.
Yes, we can
Yes,
share.
yes,
And if you want a healthcare journal,
yes.
your checkbook register talks about this, call my office. They're free. They're gonna send it out to you free. 1-855-408-1212, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, excluding state holidays. You can call our office and say, I was just on a lunch and learn with Stephanie from your office, and I would like to order a healthcare journal. We have a very, Lord have mercy, limited number of supplies of card holders, but you know what to do with the card. Turn it over just like you do your driver's license, anything, because it's got personal identifying information on there. You can ask for one of those. Medicare New 2025, if you're a Medicare beneficiary, they are sending that out to you. If you don't have one, you can call our office. We can make sure that you know how to order one for yourself if you have misplaced this or you have accidentally thrown it away.
And Stephanie, one member says, my sister has granted me access via phone to her Medicare account. She says she also has the health POA, the power of attorney. How can I gain access to her online account?
She has to have an established online account. She would have to sign up for a Medicare.gov account. And if you go on Medicare's website, it shows you how to do that. It shows you how to do that, to set one up with the username and a password and the Medicare number. You've got to have that information so you can establish that. That is an excellent question to ask, and I thank you for asking that. Because especially if you're helping loved ones, you need to do that. And then this is from Stephanie to you. This is not a SHIP or S&P thing. But I was an only child. My father was an only child. My parents have gone on to their reward. Please make sure your adult children, I don't care if they don't live in North Carolina, they know what type of insurance that you have chosen for yourself. Not for them to say, Mama, why did you choose that? If you get sick and you've got to fly into Raleigh or Greensboro or Charlotte to come help see about you until your health is restored and help make some decisions, they need to know what they're walking into. Do you see what I mean? That's not a time for you to try to do that investigating. Your kids need to know what you have. It really is for their protection and for you to be able to help advocate for all the years that they worked and helped you growing up. You need to make sure you know, as they age, what type of insurance they have and what it does cover. Because you may be called on to try to help make some decisions until your health can be restored and you can return to independence.
Okay. And Stephanie, I think, someone said, is the same phone number, the 855 phone number that you've given for both SMP and SHIP?
Yes, we are co-located. We are the same umbrella. We're the same program. I mean, it really goes by there. We all do the same thing. We are co-located within the North Carolina Department of Insurance. And I bring you greetings from your insurance commissioner, Mike Causey. And Commissioner Causey is very appreciative of what we do. And he says, because you know what? He said, not everybody's going to fuss about their car insurance or their house insurance, but they're sure going to fuss about their health insurance. And he said, this is what we do. He wants to make sure that you protect yourself from fraud. And he says, and I'm so proud to be in the association with the department that such a SHIP, that they are housed within the Department of Insurance. We've been around a long time. Jim Long was the commissioner when we started SHIP. And then it went to Wayne, and then it's with Mike. And I mean, and they all have the same thing. We want to make sure that all of our consumers are protected, but especially our seniors that are aging and they've worked and paid and given so much, and especially people that are within the North Carolina Retired Government Employees Association, because you work for the government. You know how hard this is. and you know how things can go awry. So we want to make sure that you work for those benefits. We want to make sure that those are protected. Yes, it is the
How
same
many?
number. 1-855-408-1212, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
All right.
And you're going to talk to a live breathing human being that works at the North Carolina Department of Insurance over on Beechleaf Court off of Capitol Boulevard and Highwoods. You're not calling to a call center out in a square state somewhere. You're talking to a live breathing North Carolina Department of Insurance employee. And they're not reading from a script.
That's good to know.
I mean,
That's
they're
very
not.
good to know.
They're
That's
not
right.
reading from a
Because,
script. They may have to
yeah,
ask you
because,
some questions because they got to make sure they give you the right information.
right.
They're not reading from a script.
Yes. And that's great to know because often when you don't want to hear that script.
I don't want to hear that
You-
script. I mean, I don't
That's
want
right.
you, I don't want to hear you talking about the 5 sentences that are on this page.
Right. Exactly. So, can you take a few more questions, Stephanie?
Sure, absolutely. Delighted
Right.
to.
All right. So one person asked, can I receive the healthcare journal from my Humana website?
No, you
Okay.
got to call us.
All right.
You got to call us at
Okay.
SHIP. They don't have those journals. They're across the parking lot from us, State Health Plan is, but no, they don't have those journals. Those are DOI. They are not State Treasurer's Office and State Health Plan.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
And now this is a good one so that people are aware. Are the phone calls, cell phone messages, and emails received referencing that reference grocery money up to $300? Is that benefit legitimate?
Yeah, that benefit is legitimate, but once again, as I said earlier, you're not going to buy your health insurance based on a $300 grocery benefit. That is wonderful. And home delivered meals or maybe some transportation. That's wonderful. But if your doctors do not accept those plans, then what's that benefit doing? Because Medicare's not going to pay. Do you understand what I mean? And that is an excellent question to ask. And I mean, and we all know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. You're a state employee. You probably more than likely made sure that you watched your pennies. But $300 ain't gonna get you far at the grocery store, honey. I'm telling you, not in this day and time. But what did I see all over Raleigh? Signs on billboards, signs on park benches, signs on get your benefit and we'll help you with your groceries. Well, yes, you may help a little bit with your groceries, but you want to make sure that you have a plan that is going to be compliant with the doctors that you see and that you understand if they say it's premium free to you, it may be premium free to you behind your Medicare Part B premium, but guess what? There may be co-insurances, networks, and out-of-pocket expenses that you have to pay. And believe me, we had a folks that told us that they were compliant for the first time in their life with their health care because they were transportation challenged. And they went to their doctors and then they said we could get on the bus and we could go get everything we needed to have done in this one building or in this metroplex. But when they got home a couple of days later, they got a letter saying the doctor was no longer going to accept their insurance. So that meant they had to go out and find other doctors. Do you see what I mean? And that's not always easy, especially if you are 65 and trying to find a new primary care provider. Specialists are not as bad, like your cardiologist and nephrologist and things of that nature. They're usually going to take it, but you got to know, you got to understand that you need to make sure that your doctors still maintain their relationship with the plan that you have chosen for yourself. That makes sense?
Absolutely makes sense. Yes.
Kidding
So,
you.
another person,
That
I
was one of
believe
my coordinators up in the northeastern part of North Carolina. She said, I've been on your webinar. I said, thank you.
One other person mentioned, she said she's concerned about limited current documentation of provider visit. And I believe this probably came after you said, pay attention to all the information that you get. So you may or may not be able to answer this,
Well,
but
I mean,
no,
what is she saying about that? She's concerned about what?
the current documentation on the provider visit, because it provides only little updated information.
And I agree. I agree with that.
Mhm.
I understand that. And do you know what? I shouldn't even be saying this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. What
Okay.
makes me crazy is they expect these people to go on apps on the cell phone and look up what their test results were to know what their documentation is.
Oh,
You
do
know,
that.
I had cataract surgery a few years ago, and everybody in there was trying to figure out an app, and they had a patch on their eye from having cataract surgery. And I thought, what is on that app? And they said, well, it's where we're going to go find our medicine. And the next time we got an appointment, well, that's a nice reminder. But you need to make sure that you write down what that doctor said to you. Take that journal with you to your doctor's visit so you will know what is being, because guess what? Your insurance that you paid for all these years is paying his bill. You see what I mean? You want to be a good steward of that benefit that you worked all those years and paid into the system for. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And I
And
know
I think
we are
everybody,
in a different day. I'm sorry. We are in a different day, good, bad, or ugly. We're in a different day. You used to could go to your doctor, and I mean, you could talk about why beans didn't make, and why cows didn't milk or whatever, and you could talk about anything and talk about your bursitis in your knee or in your shoulder or what things like that. But doctors don't have that kind of time anymore. That's the reason I said, make sure when you call that doctor's office, you tell them everything you want to talk to that doctor about, so they will allocate enough time for you, because doctors are usually hemmed in these practices now to time. I mean, they've got almost like, I've got a doctor, that I've got to see, and I know that I only have 15 minutes with him. I need to make that 15 minutes count. I need to make that 15 minutes count. I do that with my doctor. I do. I write down what I'm going to talk to him about, and I say, before you even start, these are the things we want to cover. And he salutes me, just ma'am, whatever you say. You better believe it. So, because those are the things that you went in there for. I mean, I'm interested in them and how they are doing and things that they see and that come about. But we want to make sure that we protect these benefits from fraud and that they will be around for us. Because let's just be honest, if we lose $68 billion a year to fraud, you always hear anytime that there's a federal election that goes on, it doesn't matter to whom or what, they say, how long will Social Security remain solvent? How long will Medicare remain solvent? We continue to lose $68 billion a year. It doesn't take a candidate or an economist long enough to know that if you lose it, you're bleeding that much money out to fraud, it probably won't stay around long. It's not a fear tactic. It's just you've got to do your part to protect the benefits that you worked for. And please make sure you tell your adult children what insurance you have. My father lived with me after my mother's passing, and we had to go to Rex here in Raleigh to the emergency room, and had this nice, sweet young lady that came in, and she looked at me and she said, is he on Medicare? I thought, he's 85. Yes. He is on Medicare. He said, I'm on railroad Medicare. And he pulled out his card and showed her his card. And she said, well, he knows what he's talking about. I said, well, yeah, he does. So we want to make sure that we get the best bang for our buck that we paid all those years for as an investment. Because we want it to be around. We want it to be around for our children and grandchildren to have. And because, people say, well, gosh, I got to pay that premium. Golly, how much is that premium? What's it gone up to? This year, Medicare Part B's premium was $185 a month. And the deductible for the year is $257. Say, that's a lot of money. You couldn't go get a comprehensive insurance product like that if you went to a local insurance agent. They wouldn't write you to start off with. And number two, that is a bargain. But it's a bargain because you worked all those years to pay for that benefit. And when you're drawing that benefit out by using your Medicare card, you are responsible for making sure what's been charged against that account were the services you received. Just like I said about Crabtree and Belks and the 14 pair of tennis shoes somebody went in there and tried to buy. You need to make sure what's been charged against your account, what the service you received. Many people call to us and they say, can't you stop these calls that we get all the time? Well, we have, you know, a little bit of authority, but I'm sorry, we don't have the authority to stop those calls. But you know what you can do? I know your mother didn't raise you to be rude, but you can hang up the phone because I've done it
Yes.
to people
Me
calling
too.
me on the phone. Phone call after phone call after phone call. If it's about Medicare, it's about anything, over and over again. I mean, you know, that, and they're not calling you to tell you about something that is free. Remember, they're going to probably get a kickback on it somehow through a commission or something of that nature. My lady that goes to church with me said, how did they know I'm here? How did they know I'm here? I can get my Medicare paid for. I said, no, you can't, ma'am, because you can't get your Medicare premium paid for. She said, well, he told me I lived in the zip code. And I said, yes, but you live in a zip code and your income, I know this, is well over those limits for extra help. So therefore, she says, well, why do they call us and confuse us? And I said, well, you know, they can. People say, how do they get my number? Voter registration, tax records, it's all public record. So if anybody is going to know of a Medicare scam, if you hear of a Medicare scam happening, please give us a call at the Department of Insurance. Don't say I'm embarrassed to call, or don't say don't want to blow a whistle on somebody, but I know somebody that this is happening to. Please give us a call. And please share this information with people that couldn't be on the call today, that are maybe not members of Retired Government Employees Association. We want to make sure that they know. It's important. It's the one common denominator that we all have. As people that go on Medicare due to age at 65, go on Medicare due to disability younger than 65, or have ALS or have Lou Gehrig's disease. You worked and paid into that benefit. Any more questions we have, Daryl?
One person, and we just have a couple more minutes. One question, one person who's just turning 65
Good.
wanted to know, is Social Security and Medicare two different agencies?
No, they're all the same. You got to apply for your Medicare through Social Security, for the Social Security office. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you may just going to tell you more information than you need to know. I'm still working. I'm a Medicare Part A beneficiary because I've covered under the state health plan.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, you go to that office, and we have in our office, if you call our toll-free consumer line, and I don't know what county you live in, or go on our website at www.ncship.com, you can find out who in your county can help you look through what we call a road to Medicare, which tells you about the enrollment times and tells you what about your secondary insurance, what the options are. If you're a state retiree, it's pretty much done for you. So, I mean, you got to make a choice, but it, you know, all this stuff is just, they confuse people with it, and we don't want people confusing people with it. We want to make sure that you get all the benefits that you work for and that you deserve.
Stephanie, we can't thank you enough. This has definitely been most
Well,
informative.
it is my pleasure to be with you guys. And I mean, you know, as I said, we're kindred spirits because I'm a state employee, and the Lord lets me live one day, I'll retire. But I really do like my job, because I feel that if nobody is out there giving them the true meat and potatoes of what's going on, then she's just giving a talk. No, I've tried to give you examples of how this works. And a lot of these examples that I've given you are from real life examples that I've experienced in my own life, or that I have friends that have experienced this in their life as well.
And we appreciate you giving those examples too. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for joining us.
Bye, guys.
And well, we have a couple more things. Let's see. Don't forget, when we send you the follow-up information, to complete the survey that will come in that same email, and we need your responses back by Monday. And we also want to let you know that the next Lunch and Learn will be held on February 19th from 12:30 to 1:30 and is entitled Understanding Your Dentist and Dental Insurance. And it will be presented by Dr. Kristen Zenzalian from the dentist office. She's from Aesthetics Oral Health, along with members of our AMBA benefits, as well as some others who will be joining us on that call next month. So be sure and join us. You'll get some information in the follow-up information that we will send you today. I also want to thank, before we hang up, let's see what the name is, Lisa Baker, I think, from Warren County. She's got 25 people online
Hey,
with her. And also, we have, I'm trying to read my writing, Christy Southall from
Christy is
South
our
Granville.
is one of our coordinators, yes, volunteers, yes.
Yeah, there are 35 people
South
on
Granville,
with her today.
South
So we
Granville.
appreciate you all joining. And so we thank you for doing so, and we will see you next month. As
Bye, guys.
always, the association stands ready to assist you in your retirement. Have a beautiful day. Goodbye, everyone.
Take care, everybody. Stay warm, stay safe.
Absolutely.